Hey everybody, welcome to Delta Lodge Outdoors. Julius Craig here, coming to you today. And what we're going to talk about on today's episode, I have a great guest, Trenton Crumpler with Thumper Outdoors. He works on works on bows, has a YouTube channel, has a bunch of stuff going on. Real informative show on a lot of different things. Y'all let us know what you think of it. I think you'll get something out of it. Check out his pages. We leave the links at the end. Thanks. Hey everybody, on today's show of Delta Lodge Outdoors, I have Trent Crumpler here with us. How are you, Trent?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I know we talked to Seth about, just a minute ago about kind of idea of behind the podcast of what we want to talk about today, and I'm just going to turn it over to you. Let everybody know what who you are and what you do and everything.
My name is Trent. I own a business called Thumper Outdoors. Basically, I'm a content creator with a big focus on archery and bow hunting, and particularly kind of mobile hunting is really where I found myself leaning towards. So saddles, lightweight tree stands, ghillie suits, things of that nature. I also own and run an archery shop out of my basement with plans to eventually move that into a larger retail location and turn it into more of a sporting goods store. I've been bow hunting for 18 years now and working on archery equipment for 15. So I've been at it for a good amount of time, and I'm just absolutely eaten up by it.
Where are you located at?
I'm located in Central Illinois, Lincoln to be specific.
Okay. Central Illinois, Lincoln. I actually, oddly enough, had a job offer in Illinois probably a couple months ago, Mount Vernon area.
Okay, yeah, that's about hour 15 away from me.
Yeah, they're about to like redo all the interstate down in that area, like 10 miles on each side of it or something.
Yep.
And I was actually offered to come run all the concrete paving there, but I was like, no, I don't really want to be I'm already working 5 hours from home to the west out in the Panhandle in Oklahoma. I don't want to be like 6 hours north of home, so. Turned it down, but I looked at it because I'm like, it's not far from the national forest. I could get my hunt license. Like it's like it could be where I could have some fun in Illinois for deer season.
Yeah.
And my wife laughed because she's like, that's really how you're judging where you go to work now? I was like, yeah, how it affects my deer hunting. Like, if it's good, I mean.
Absolutely.
So.
I didn't realize there was another way to pick a job.
Do what, buddy?
I didn't realize there was any other way to pick a job.
Right. I used to not be like that. Now I'm like, no. And that's actually part of how I ended up in Oklahoma, because I have horses and everything, and you can get pretty good sized place up in Oklahoma for a reasonable price, and then there's a lot more deer than people realize. And the hunting's like, I chuckle because I grew up hunting in South Louisiana. There's pine thickets and swamps and everything. You grow up hunting that, then move somewhere that's like flat, and they just got to work in the ravines or a little bit of trees here and there. It's so much easier to hunt. And I'm an avid bow hunter myself and everything, and getting more into it every year. It's just something fun about it. Like I killed 11 point with my rifle this year, and literally had them at 25 yards filming them during rifle season. Let them leave and go back out to like 130 yards before I decided to shoot them, because I was like, do I really want to shoot this deer? Like, I mean, it's a nice deer to shoot with my bow, and it was like, it was like I almost let them completely walk, because I was like, I should shoot them with my bow, not my rifle. And it's bow hunting. Like people talk about it, it's an addiction, and like you said, you're ate up with it. I know when we talked, you do some like you said, you have a shop down in your basement right now. Tell us what you do with that and what your plans are and everything.
So like I said, I've been working on archery equipment for 15 years. When I started, it was basically my own equipment when I was buying bows at pawn shops, just trying to learn things and tearing them apart and putting them back together and replacing strings. And that grew into working on my buddies' stuff, and then my buddies were telling their buddies, and it just kind of steamrolled over time. To me, I work on a fair amount of local bows, but really with my following, I've got to work on archery equipment from all over the country, as well as build and send arrows to every one of the 50 states. So the biggest thing for me is the community here is relatively strong with bow hunters, but we don't have any garage store. You know, Shields sends me an awful lot of business.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, you don't have, there's not a lot of, like, the smaller or custom bow shops anywhere now. You know, it's your big box stores, or you travel somewhere to find, like, what you're looking for. And like, what you're wanting to do. It's like, I've got one that's relatively close to me, that's archery shop, you know, where I live in Oklahoma, and he's the closest one. He's about 40 miles, you know, and it's, everybody from around there goes to them. There was another one. They closed down, and, you know, they closed down probably a couple years ago, and other than the one that's 40 miles away, I think the next one's like 60 or 70 miles. So it's, you're kind of limited on where you can go for that, and it's like, you want to have that relationship with somebody where you can walk in there and, like, ask questions, and they can understand what you're asking. It's not, and I'm not knocking, like, the big box store, like, you know, your Bass Pro, for example, that have the kids working in the, or adults, whatever, working in the bow part or the fishing part, but they're not, most of them have a passion for it, but it's not an educated level of what you're bringing to the table, or like what something I would look, you know, like why I go to a custom shop, you know, and knowing what you want in them, and like you have the knowledge of a lot of times of tuning, you know, to be able to tune a bow and everything, where that's not what they specialize in. So, you know, that's something important to have in today's, you know, it's very limited. So you were telling me the other day, like you like just talking about tuning, like when we text earlier in the week, we're talking about, or last week, we're talking about custom arrows and stuff. Like, what all do you do? Like, just tell it, you know.
Yeah, so I do everything from archery equipment sales. So I'm a dealer for some bow companies, particularly Gearhead, Garton. I can get a lot of entry level and bear stuff and things of that nature. And if I can't get it, I usually have contacts from some friends that own archery shops in other states where I can get it for you. So I sell bows, I sell releases, I sell sights, you know, everything you need to set up a bow, I sell it all. And then I build custom arrows, you know, cut, square, install inserts, flesh, and all different color combinations that you could ever think of, custom wraps. You know, if you're somebody that wants to go with a high FOC setup, I can work through your bow setup, and we can tailor your arrow setup to get what you want. You know, if you're wanting something faster, you know, I sell broadheads. I'm basically a full service archery shop. Anything you can imagine that a archery pro shop would do, I can do it.
Okay.
And then I'm also big on education, so I do some coaching. You know, I have guys that come in, or new people especially that come in that are just kind of interested in archery. I've got some stuff that they can try out and play with a little bit. We can work on some coaching and stuff. I've got some guys that have been hunting for a really long time and just want to improve their shot game, so we spend some time doing that. If you come and buy a bow from me, or say you come to me and you want your bow tuned, I've got a 60-yard range in my backyard. So what we'll do is we'll come down in the garage, or in the basement shop, and I will check spec on all your stuff. We'll check timing. We'll do some paper tuning to kind of give us a starting baseline point. And then we'll go up out in the backyard, and we'll do some broadhead tuning, some bear shaft tuning to make sure everything is squared away, shooting how it should be. And then before you leave, I'm going to get you signed into your max effective range, or 60 yards, whichever is further, or whichever is,
Yeah.
I guess, possible.
Yeah. Okay. You brought something up a while ago, FOC. That's gotten to be a real big thing lately. And what is your, you know, like when you go with that, what do you prefer?
So I am a tinker by heart, and in being such, I have a tendency to build myself anywhere from 3 to 10 dozen different arrows every year, whether it's different brands, different, you know, diameters, different components, whatever. I'm always changing stuff to try to find something I like, or something that makes more sense, or gives me an edge. And what I have found is I think we all really focus way too much on that
that's how I've always felt. And I think a lot of people put way too much thought into something that it became real big a few years back, and the probably more about the fad when it came out and people started pushing it all the time. And to me, it, like you just said, low poundage or on a traditional or whatever, but it's like the way bows are advancing, it's and it's really, and at the point where we're at with, correct me if I'm wrong here, the point where we're at with compound bows is probably the last 10 to 15 years, there really hasn't been much. They've kind of hit, like, I won't say a wall or a peak, but they've kind of leveled out on exactly how much they can get out of them right now, until now they're going with some carbon stuff, and like Hoyt does the aluminum risers too and everything. It's like they're tweaking them, but overall your speed's not really going up like it made that big jump 20 years ago. You're just kind of in a plateau. What do you feel?
Yeah, so that's very accurate. I've talked to some bow engineers about stuff like that, and I've been told several times by several different guys that until we have new materials that can offer us more than what the current materials we have are,
you got what you got.
Compete at what shootability looks like when it comes to speed on bow. Mm-hmm. So what you're seeing now is companies are coming out with quality of life changes, where integrated stabilizers or integrated sights or a little nicer grip or more customability here or there, or maybe 75 pound max instead of 70. So you're seeing a lot of very minute quality of life changes for every new iteration of a bow coming out that, as you said, really ultimately don't change a lot. I was just reading a thing the other day from an engineer. We spent 6 months trying to get a 0.25% more efficiency out of a cam. And to me, that kind of tells where we are as far as the technology we have available to us.
Well, what really got me thinking about it is I have two sons, they're 11 and 9, and I have a shorter draw length, so I've shot a lot of the Bear. They made the Encounter or whatever that was so versatile from like children up to adults, and I believe it's the Encounter, but I had one that was a 2008 model, and then 2008 or 10, somewhere in that area. Then I bought one because I found it at a pawn shop, looked brand new in a case, and it was a year old, and I bought it for $125. And it was like a 2018 model. But you lay the two bows side by side, and they're 10 to 12 years apart. Unless you know what you're looking at, you wouldn't know which one's the newest one of the two. And I got to look at that the other day. I'm like, their speed's the same, their weight's almost identical. They haven't changed these bows, but it's the newer model each year, and it's like I think the camo is a little different and the grip's a little different. Nothing spectacular. And I'm a numbers and research person, so I started looking at stuff, and I'm like, well, heck, nothing's really changed on these things. And that's what really got me to looking at it. And it's like, because I'm in the market, should have picked up another bow, but I keep procrastinating. So it's like, I got to get something the next few weeks and get used to shooting it, because I plan on trying to make a hunt in September. And it's like, here it is, might as well call it the middle of May, it's the second week of May or whatever. And it's like, I'm bowless. And it's like, I've got to get another bow. I've got to spend time shooting it. But it's like, you kind of like, if you've been shooting much, it's just, they're the same. Like, it's how it feels to you, I think, at that point. Because I went and looked at some the other day, and it was the Prime, I think. I didn't like the grip at all the way it felt. It was like, I don't know how to really describe it other than like when I picked it up, it just automatically was like, no, I didn't even like holding it. Like, I didn't even like want to pull it back. I just didn't even like the way my hand fit it. And it was like, it's like, and I picked up several of them. It's like, just none of them felt right. I don't know what it was about them. And I kind of chuckled because I'm like, it's like, I've looked at a bunch of different bows, and it's like, that was the only one that I automatically was like, nope, don't like it. I don't like the way it feels in my hand. Everything else was pretty close to the same, And it's like, they've made it where it's just there. And that's what, that's I like what, like that you said with that. Like you said, to get a little bit more out of it, they're spending months, and you're not gaining anything that's worth the time and effort. So you said you do a lot of filming and everything with just Thumper. So give us a rundown on that.
Yeah, so that all kind of started. So I started hunting or found hunting, I guess, when I was 13. Nobody in my family hunted deer at all. And my dad grew up hunting small game. I listened to my grandpa some stories about it. But by the time I was old enough to do any of that, none of my family hunted, period. It just so happened I found a episode of the Fitzgeralds TV show where they were deer hunting. And it looked cool. Told my parents I wanted a bow. They bought me a bow. And that's how the obsession started. Well, as I became more and more obsessed with bow hunting, I, at 16 years old, was like, I have to do this for a living. Like, I have to do this every day of my life. So I decided I wanted to have a TV show. I started doing research as a 16-year-old kid. Found out very rapidly TV time slots are very, very, very expensive. Very unattainable for a 16-year-old kid. So that went out the window. And the next logical iteration was YouTube. So it would have been... I started an initial YouTube channel. It was called Thumper Archery. That would have been right about the time I was 16. I worked on it for, about a year and a half-ish. We'll say maybe 2 years. I built a staff. As a 16-year-old kid, I had built a staff. We were filming stuff with awful cameras on phones. I had some problems with some people on the staff trying to take over and run things. That really soured me on everything, so I killed that and got out of it. Probably took a year and a half off, and I couldn't help myself. So I started another thing, Just Thumper Outdoors, with one of my best friends, and via life and stuff like that, he was kind of drawn away and pulled away from him because he was, getting a family, and I would have been 20 at the time. So he was starting a family and things like that and being pulled away, and just over time, we were working together less and less, and he kind of faded out, and we kind of talked a little bit, and I took over and started doing it really seriously. Well, I started doing it myself probably about 7, 8 years ago. And then here, in the last 4 years, I started to really take it serious and really start pumping out content and putting time into it. And when you put time into it, it grows pretty quickly. So basically, the focus of what I do, a lot of my videos are broadhead testing. I really enjoy broadheads. I think they're very interesting devices or objects, whatever you want to call them. It's just interesting to me that we're taking down animals of such stature with such a small, sharp, blinky thing. And I kind of got obsessed with broadheads, so I started testing those in various different ways, and then I started getting into other gear and reviewing it, and then I really still wanted to do the TV show thing, so I was filming hunts, and it's just kind of grown into more or less the things I enjoy in the outdoors and sharing them with people, whether it be new gear or hunting.
Okay. And you actually answered a question I was going to ask. What got you into hunting, or who influenced it? And you kind of started with that. So that was the question I was going to lead up to with it. And it was like, it's furthermore into what you said about like when you put time in it, like it'll really go real quick. See, my setup originally with Delta Lodge Outdoors, 2012, I sat down and designed a deer feed glass attractant, and it took off like just a rocket. Then I was married at the time. That didn't work out, so went through a divorce. Then I went through about 4 or 5 years, 6 maybe, 4 to 6 years, barely doing anything with it. And basically that's when, YouTube, Facebook, everything started changing algorithms as I got back into it. And like it's different getting started back. Once you've had a good flow really going, it seems like if you stop and lose that momentum, it's hard to rebuild it. And it sounds like you've got, you know that feeling. And it's like I started with a couple of my buddies, and it was like, one expected like stardom overnight and become famous from it, and another one, he would be there and we would do stuff that I'm like, dude, where are we going with this? He's like, oh, I don't want nothing to do with it. That's too much work. He's like, I want to come hang out every now and then and do stuff, but this work, I don't want nothing to do with it. And I'm like, well, okay. And then, like you said, then you had just trying to build it. And it's like, it's crazy how like the little things, the ups and downs in it. And like you said earlier, like you lived, like you knew that's what you want to do. It's like, that's how I am with the outdoors, just period. It's like hunting and fishing. I've done some trapping and everything. It's like, if I'm out, like I can, no matter what my day's like or how my mood is, if I can go out there and like be part of that or bring my kids out and do stuff with them in it, it just completely changes everything. And that's, that's the biggest thing to me with the outdoors. It's like showing, like having the others brought into it. And that was where I was going to go with, like, the next thing is like, and you already even hit that because I was going to ask about like showing other people. It's like you said you do the shooting and everything and coaching, and it's like, you're trying to build something and further something that a lot of people take for granted. And I found that really really cool. That you're putting that effort into it because like you realize what it is to it. And a lot of people just, they want that instant glorification, I guess. And so the long haul for it or giving back. And, I know I'm kind of rambling, but you understand where I'm going with that, I guess.
Yeah.
And, and that's what we, it's like, what is your plans for, like you said, you with the bow, with your bow shop and everything, you want to get out into your own shop and everything. Like you kind of, you started talking about that a little bit. You got an idea of time frame or what you plan on doing and all that? Like,
well, initially, I was hoping to get it done and squared away by July, August of this year. Unfortunately, my girlfriend and I bought a house and spent $40,000 on plumbing right after we bought the house. So that's kind of out the window. Basically, I don't have a real timeline. I'm going to focus on just building it up in the basement. I have a situation now where I work a full-time job as well, and I have a plan that's basically that I'll schedule an appointment with somebody, I'll have them come over, and then we can do everything, and then people are shipping me stuff in. They obviously don't need an appointment. It's just get a hold of me, we'll work stuff out. I'll have you ship your bow or whatever you're having done over to me. Or if you want to order some arrows, I just have them get a hold of me on my social media. They order and then I build them and ship them out. So right now I'm really focused on kind of building it back. There was a time for about 3 years that I actually did this full time between making videos and the archery shop, and I desperately miss working for myself. Just there's some choices to kind of pursue other things, still within the industry, but taking time away from my business. I shortcut myself a little bit and lost the momentum, kind of like we were talking about earlier. So I'm in the process of building that back up so that I can go back to working for myself full time again.
Exactly.
Hopefully, that working for myself full time happens about the same time I get into a shop. So I would really, really like to see it done by May of next year. At the latest, I want to say end of July, beginning of August.
I totally get that. Like I said, I took this job with a company 2 years ago. I myself and the family moved from South Louisiana to Oklahoma, and great opportunity and everything. But it's like, when I took the job myself, I was self-employed for about 6 or 7 years. But then I was doing like remodels, additions, stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm tired of dealing with the like everyday like bozos, like, cause like you get, and I hate to say it like that, but like the regular people, you would go there and you'd be doing something for them, and they'd be like, well, can you do this? And like, but they didn't want to pay you to do that because you were already there to do that, but it was different than what you were doing. Then like you were a bum because you wouldn't do it. And I dealt with that, and I've dealt with some good clients, I've dealt with bad clients. I've been probably a good contractor and a bad one, like I get that. Some people just don't jive together. And so I told my wife, I was like, I got to get away from it for a while. So I used to do road work, construction and everything, building concrete paving, building roads and everything. I've been a job superintendent, a project manager, paving superintendent. So I had access that all I had to do was update my resume, and I could get hired anywhere I wanted to, because I had a background of like 10 or 12 years of doing that. And I'd been on my own for like 6 years, and I was like, so got the opportunity to come up here, and that's what when I told my wife, I was like, we're going. We moved and everything. We discussed it. We moved, and she said, how long are you doing it? I said, I don't know, 5 years. Well, I'm 2 years into it, and probably 5-6 months ago, we did all the paperwork to follow the process to start our own company to get and start bidding jobs and everything. I was like, you know what? I miss being able to, be at home. Be at home, be there with my kids. If I want to go outside, mess with my horses or whatever, like if I want to miss 2 or 3 days of work, like if I want to schedule where I'm off 2 or 3 days a week or whatever to go hunt or go fish or take the kids and go camping and not have to worry about, oh crap, we got to be back by this time. And it's like, so I get you about like, going back to work for your, like going and being full time, because it's like, but for yourself, because it's like, it can be what's the word I'm looking? It can be a real train wreck, but a blessing at the same time. There's days that you're self-employment, even if it's something you love, you're like, oh, man, I don't know if I can do this. Then there's other days that you're like, this is why I do this, And as long as the days of why this is why I do this outweigh the train wrecks, then it's a win. And I just got to the point in doing what I was doing that the train wrecks were winning. It was like, but I wasn't completely set up out doing an outdoor business where I wanted to. And that's something that I'm working on also. Like, just like you, I'm starting to build it back up and do. But it's you got to be happy in doing what you're doing, or you won't ever succeed at anything. And that's that's a fine line to learn to walk too. And but where's all right? So there's that. How are you going to incorporate Chest Thumper Outdoors into your? Is it still going to be part of it when you get your shop going and doing, or what you got going? What's your thought process there?
Well, at that point, they'll become independent of one another. I'll take care of our archery equipment because I plan on eventually selling firearms as well, and also camo and decoys. I want to build really a small sporting goods store that's got the niche of high quality gear, and basically tailoring to guys and gals that are diehard hunters, as well as introducing people that maybe like to hunt but aren't sure how to take the next step, or want to be diehard but maybe they don't really have friends that hunt or aren't super into it, so it's kind of hard for them to have that community. So I'm looking to build a sporting goods store that basically gives them that base of that community, and then can supply them with high quality gear. And when that happens, I will separate archery stuff away from Chest Thumper Outdoors. Now, I'll still completely do Chest Thumper Outdoors because that's a love thing for me as well, and I can interact with a lot of particularly new outdoorsmen and outdoorswomen on social media and kind of guide them into the right way to set up a bow, or most information, most things that I do, I give away completely free on the internet, and just offer the option for them to send me the equipment to work on if they don't want to do it themselves, or they don't want to invest in it, but if they, I've had people call me and say, hey, I just bought this bow press, can you walk me through how to check the timing on my bow, or how to, replace the string, or whatever, and I'm more than happy to spend time with them to do that, because to me, as long as they're falling more in love with archery and bow hunting, all of us as a whole are winning, and that's really, really a big driving factor for me too, is to get more people in the community and really introduce people to bow hunting, and hopefully have them fall in love with it the way that I fell in love with it. But back to your original question, I do plan on eventually separating them. Chest Thumper Outdoors is just going to be video content at that point. I'll still do gear reviews, and I'll kind of use my shop to help supply for the gear reviews. I'll do gear reviews and things of that nature, and then I'll still be filming hunts. Hopefully the shop and working for myself will give me the ability to do more traveling hunts than I've gotten to do now, because I really love to travel and explore and hunt and do all kinds of things. I'm going to be content. I just got a German short hair pointer puppy that I'm training, so there'll be a lot of that content coming up as well. So they'll separate from one another, but I'll still be running them simultaneously because they're both going to be doing things that I love.
Okay. Like you said, doing a little travel and hunting. What is your something I like to ask everybody when I'm talking to them? What is your, I guess, bucket list hunt that you want to go on? Like when you say, which one is it? What would you?
Yukon moose.
Yukon moose. That ought to be. That's it. With a bow?
That's it. With a bow. Everything that I have a bucket list or like top 5 bucket list hunts is all with a bow. The idea of hunting, not that I'm opposed to hunting with a rifle or a firearm. I hunt with firearms every year. I just really ultimately diehard bow hunting. Mm-hmm. And that Yukon moose hunt is something that I've wanted to do since I was 13. So
I get that. All right. What have you traveled outside of Illinois deer hunting already, or what?
So I've not done any deer hunting outside of Illinois. I went to Montana last year and shot a black bear. And then I traveled outside the state and done like bow fishing trips and things like that. I went to Oklahoma and shot some hogs. But I've not done a whole lot of traveling yet. Hopefully this year I'm going to get to go to Missouri with some buddies and do some whitetail hunting. Next year I really want to try to get to Nebraska or Kentucky for early season velvet whitetails.
Well, we're definitely going to have to talk then because I'm planning. I haven't decided if I'm doing Nebraska this year or next year because, see, they only do like 10,000 tags. And you got to be like Johnny on the spot to get your tag. I've looked at Missouri because, like, I live 3.5 hours from public land in Missouri. 3 hours. Nebraska, I live about 5.5 hours from public land. But I've been looking at it. I actually was gonna go a few weeks ago and do up to myself and my little boys and go spend the weekend and camp and stay up to Nebraska, kind of scout and camp because I want to see what crops they have planted in the areas this year because if it's beans, then your early season velvet hunt is a pretty good idea. If they're on corn, they're more of a late season hunt, and it's like goes they'll hit the beans up to the point they turn. Which usually early season you can kill the deer transfer between the beans, and but if they're in corn right now, then you're better off hunting late season when they cultivate it. But yeah, those two are on my list. Like I said, I've got those two that I want to make. Then myself and two of my buddies started this year putting in for our preference points in Kansas because one of the guys that's in the group grew up in Kansas and has a bunch of family land we can go hunt. So we're probably we'll put in preference this year, next year, then 2026 to go to draw our tags as a group and go hunt northern Kansas. And but I've deer hunted in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Oklahoma and killed deer. I want to go to Nebraska and Missouri, and I've started collecting my points in Iowa. So, but yeah, Nebraska's always been on a kind of that early season hunt there because it's like September 1st, and Missouri's like September the 14th or 15th. But Arkansas, are you familiar with their season?
I'm not.
Arkansas is over the counter just like Missouri, but it lasts from like the third Saturday of September to February 28th. So it's one of those like, and your bow license is like $400 or something. It's kind of one of the higher ones, but you could also make an early season trip. And if you didn't get anything, that's one of those where all the other seasons are closed. You have till February 28th to make it back down and make a hunt. So you could literally, that's one of those you can buy that license and make 2 hunts pretty simple. An early season and a late season. But that might be one that you look into also. Yeah, Nebraska, like I said, I want to go up there because the main reason is knowing what's planted because that affects, it's easier to, from what I've talked to people about and everything, it's easier to have the deer figured out by what's planted and knowing early season or late. And so what part of, have you picked a part of Nebraska you interested in or just Nebraska?
Yeah, I haven't dug that far into it. I'm kind of in a stint in mode right now where I'm trying to do like whitetail hunting is more or less a convenience thing. Right now I'm trying to branch out and hunt other species. So next year, potentially a Canadian moose hunt in my future. I know I'm going to Tennessee for turkey next year. I'd really like to make it out to Maryland for Sika deer this year or next year. So as much as I love whitetail, I really, really am enjoying pursuing other animals and just kind of seeing what that's like. You know, that Montana black bear hunt is probably my favorite hunt I've ever done, and it was super hard. I worked really hard for it and had a blast.
See, the cool thing about Oklahoma is I can get my black bear tags. I can get antelope tags. We have mule deer out here in the Panhandle and antelope. The job I'm on right now, I had pictures of mule deer on public land 15 minutes from where I'm at right now. This past year, I just couldn't make any. I just didn't hunt it over here. Antelope, I went to public land the other day and scouted an area and counted 22 head of antelope in one spot, and then I almost ran over like 6 more when I left. You can put in for elk, like as a resident. It's not a normal draw system, like you're not accumulating points, but you can also get elk. You can draw for elk, or if you have a lease or a place that has elk on it, you can get elk tags. So what's cool about Oklahoma, you can kill mule deer, whitetail, black bear, antelope, and it's the top. You know, your 5: elk, mule deer, whitetail, antelope, and bear. So you can. It's pretty cool. Like, I was like, I'm like you, I want to travel and do stuff, but I was like, that would be really cool to kill all 5 species within the state too. Because there's a handful of people that I think that have done it here, and only a couple have been with bows, which is pretty cool. It's not something that's just super popular right now. It's because the mule deer herd's not a big, impressive herd, so not a lot of people are killing mule deer. They'll kill a few of the animals, but not all of them. But that was one of the things that attracted me to the state, being able to come here and be able to hunt all 5. And because in Louisiana, you can, when it comes to deer, big game, your deer, or you draw alligator tags. That's about it. And so that was what was cool coming here. But yeah, I'm one of those that I like to travel to hunt. And it's not about the way with me. It's not about the kill. It's about just the getting to go, whether it's by yourself or with a group of friends or whatever. It's just being out there and learning. It's always a learning experience. Like, you go to a new place and you're trying to figure it out. Like, you can, it's the success. Yes, it's great to be successful and kill a deer, or you're the animal that you're after, but knowing you've never been somewhere that you put the effort in, you get there, and like having even if you don't succeed, but you had the opportunity. It's still it's still a rush or whatever. Like, because you know that you did everything. Then you somewhere you never been, you almost pulled it off. That's and then capitalize. It's when you do get to capitalize on it, it's what makes it even better. But so
yeah. I'm very much an adventure guy, and that's the biggest reason I like to travel. For me, it's, what's over that next hill, what's around that river bend, when I cross this creek and drop down to this valley, what's that look like? Or when I cross this mountain top and come over the top, what's on the other side of that? I've always had I'll say an adventurous spirit and kind of an inquisitive mind, so I'm always curious about, what's next, what's around the corner, what's this look like, what's this tree or this animal or this plant that I've never seen before. Like you said, gaining knowledge is really the enjoyable part for me. I'm very much not somebody that's about to kill. I spend, I'm a big foodie. I love to cook and I love to eat wild game. So I spend more years where I'll kill does and never even draw my bow on a buck. I mean, for me, it's as much about putting food in the freezer as it is anything, and then the adventure is first and foremost, and that's why I like my bear hunt so much, is the adventure aspect was off the charts. I mean, talking new terrain, new challenges, new animal, every everything, and then being, like you said, being able to capitalize just was kind of the cherry on the top of all of those new experiences.
And one thing that like I like to do, and it's like my dad and one of my buddies, I was talking to them Sunday because I have like I said earlier, we're talking 5-hour drive, so I was talking to one of my buddies, and we have a hunt planned in October of this year, the first week. We're going to go all meet in North Louisiana because they're all still in Louisiana and I'm up here, so we'll meet down there and hunt a public land place that is bow hunting only in North Louisiana. It's a really cool place. I've taken, I think it's 6 to 8 people with me up there over the years, right? Every one of them has shot at deer. Some of them have killed multiple deer. And my buddy, one of my buddies that's going with me this year when we go in October, he's never been. And he's like, everybody shot one, and, they've all shot at deer, and this one's killed and everything. He said, well, what about you? I said, never shot one there. He said, well, why? I said, I don't really know. I said, I've had the opportunity, just I was more excited about making sure I put them on deer. And it's like, he said, you've had opportunities. I said, I sat in one stand and counted 11 does, all within bow range when they had never picked my bow up off of its hanger. Like, it was knowing that I could, but also that I had put them on deer. And that was what it was about to me. And I look at fishing the same way. Like, I get more enjoyment out of seeing other people, I think, than I do out of doing it myself, if that makes sense. And it's like, but something you touched on earlier about light stands and saddles. So you're a saddle guy?
Yes, I am.
I got into it about 3 years ago, maybe now, 3. And I'm going to use that overused cliche of game changer. It's totally different. Like, I was always like I had an old man climber and everything. So I was always like using climbers. But it's, you walk in, you find an area you like with a climber, and then you wander around and put your scent everywhere to finally find a tree you can actually climb. And like, the work if you like with that to do it. And it's like, you've basically took a good chance of boogering up your whole area time you getting something. And it's like now you walk in there with a saddle and you're just like, oh, okay, I want to climb this like 5-inch round tree, not a problem. And it's like, it was just totally different to me. Like, the first deer I killed out of one, my feet were literally like 7 feet off the ground. Like, he walked on the back side of the tree I was hanging in, and if he'd have walked on the side I was on, he'd have probably got tangled up in my 3-step aider. And he never knew I was there with that, because I was just vertical in the tree, I guess. It's weird. Like, how would you describe it? Like, they don't really pay attention to you being up and like vertical in that tree for some reason.
Yeah, I've heard people kind of talk about this, and some people say they think it looks more natural, like your limb coming out of the tree or something to that effect, and I don't know really what the case is. My thought has always been, because you have the ability to put a tree between you and them,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have such a pronounced outline.
Yep.
So, if they're walking on the backside of that tree and they look at the tree, maybe they can see your shoulders and your arms, maybe you got a leg hanging out, but it's not like a human silhouette.
Yeah, you're not like a big bump sitting on a log, like just hanging out there, like.
Exactly. And then if they're walking from a side, I can see where the thought process would be. You look more natural, like a limb growing up and out of the tree versus sitting in a tree stand where you just look like a growth on the side of a tree. So
Yeah.
I think for me, a lot of it too is I find that I can move a lot less in a saddle. With a tree stand, if I sit for too long, no matter what seat cushion I use, no matter webbing seat or a cushion seat, I always get uncomfortable and have to kind of adjust and move a little bit. I don't have that same issue with a saddle, especially if you can put your legs on either side of the tree and straddle it and just sit against it. So, I feel like I move a lot less.
See, like what you just said about the fidgeting and moving in a climbing stand or lock on or whatever, I would describe it as like bat toe butt or bleacher butt, when you're at a football game, or like we call it a bat toe, like an aluminum boat.
Yeah.
And your butt gets like this, I know, odd way of putting it, but you like get this like it goes to sleep or this itchy feeling, and you gotta move around. That's how a lock on or climbing stand does you. But the saddle, as long as you gotta adjust it where you don't have pinch points on your hips, you're just there. And it's like like I said, I got into it about 3 years ago. My youngest son, the 9-year-old, he loves to hunt. He's killed one deer. He could have killed another one this year, and it cracked me up. I was gonna let him shoot it because I was like, you're 9, shoot what you want. And we got some really good deer on our place, but a spike came out at like 50 to 60 yards. He had his rifle. We're sitting on the ground, like with our backs against some rocks. The deer literally got within about 15 feet of us. He still hasn't shot it. Then realized we were not rocks sitting there, and trotted off and stopped at about 70 yards again, gave him a shot. He said, I'm not shooting him, he's too little, because he knew the bigger deer we had. And I was like, and I don't know, I know at that age I would have shot the deer, like, so super proud of him. But he wanted a saddle, so I got him a custom gear modifications Pygmy Rattler for Christmas. That dude has used it 2 to 3 times now, practiced with it. He can literally, like, I gave him just I didn't give him my one stick. I gave him, like, while we were practicing, I had a wolf, stick. I got like a 4-pack of them, and I'll use an 8er on them, and I'll pre-hang them sometimes, like, on my own certain places. That way, if I want to, I don't have to, like, pull my one stick and all that. I'll throw that in there, and, like, I've got, like, a 4-stump 8er on them, so I can get 10 feet, 12 feet high and on one stick with my 8er and everything, the way how long it is without ever making a move. And on the pre-hangs I'll do. But I gave him one of those and was letting him practice with it. And he's like, well, how do you move in the tree? I'm like, well, with my one stick, I do this. He literally hung off, reached down, pulled the wolf climbing stick, put it back up, and made a move. Then did it again and made another move. He's like, how I get down? I'm like, the same way. And it was like, he's like, Dad, this is like, I'm not, and like, he wasn't scared. Like, it was like, he doesn't do height very well. Like, he's not getting in a ladder stand with you. He's like, nah, we hunt from the ground, or we'll hunt in this stool, or we'll hunt in that box stand. Like, he won't get in that ladder stand with you. But he'll climb that tree with that. I'm like, and it's like, and then, he's safe because he's tied off and everything. And I was like, that was probably, like, I got it for him for Christmas. He didn't get to use it till probably 3 weeks ago because of weather and everything. He used it that Friday evening, practiced when I got in. Then that Saturday, he wanted to do it again. Sunday before I left, he's like, Dad, can I go climb again? Like, can you come? And I was like, yeah. So it's like, he's putting the effort in to learn it. And he's like, I like this. And it was like, it was a better investment when I bought myself one. Like, seeing his, knowing too that, like, because I don't know your age, I'm 39, and like, tying off in a tree with a lock on or climber, something I never did. I was never taught that. And it was like, so as I got older and having kids and everything, and like I said 3 or 4 years ago, switching over to this, I'm like, yeah, I feel so much safer now because I'm tied. Like, then I think back, I'm like, why the hell did I do it that way? Like, so it's like, like I said, not knowing. There's an age group that we just wasn't, it wasn't like it is now. We wasn't taught that. Like, I get it on my dad now because, like, he uses a climber still. He's 60 years old. 63, actually, or 4. Hey, Dad, you tied off? Well, my bottom and top's tied together. I'm like, geez, Dad, like, And it's like, because I've fallen out of a tree before. It's fortunately I didn't get hurt and everything, but I switched to this because I'm getting to the point where I can't, you can never afford to get hurt. But you definitely can't when you got little kids. And, and it was like, so I'm training him, and like my oldest son, it's like, hey, you can hunt, you're going to use this. I'm teaching them that because it's like, as soon as you walk up there, you're tied to that tree. And that's something that's like, this is how you're going to learn to hunt. It's like, I don't know if I'll ever teach them to use a climber. It's no sense in it, with where we're at on that technology now. So, a couple questions, and we'll start wrapping up. What saddle do you, like you said, you hunt a saddle, which one do you use, and is there a certain name brand you prefer? Like, what's your personal preference?
Yeah, so, the way I choose who I do business with, and it goes for my shop as well, and like the products I carry, a lot of it has to do with the
I've actually done a podcast.
It's super, super nice.
I've had Dan on for
I chose the sport. I've had a really good time with it. I've used it this will be my 5th season with the one stick. And I had nothing but good experiences. I really don't see myself switching away from that either. For aider on the one stick, I got an alternator. Again, same experience with the guy that owns Ultimator. Fantastic dude. They make a bunch of really cool products, not just the Ultimator. So I chose to go that route. Camera arms. Camera arm is from Out on a Limb. Again, great small company. Fantastic people. Good experiences. So, again, firm believer, there are so many great products out there that it's all personal preference. I just choose my products based on how easy they are to work with if I do have issues, and then what kind of relationship I have with them. Obviously I want to support people that I get along with and I enjoy, talking to and seeing the shows and things like that. So
I did a podcast probably a year and a half, 2 years ago now, maybe somewhere in that time frame with Dan from Eastern Woods. And pretty awesome. Like, it was great. I run Eastern Woods one step. And with the aider and everything, mine's, I think, the 15-inch, it was like the 3-step adjustable. And then, like, I have those, like I was talking about, those Wolves with some cheap aider, like, not a cheap aider, but not ultimate aider name brand, that I use for, like, presets on, like, my place, or if I go in public land and I'm going to hunt a couple different areas, I might throw one of my presets out just because I'm $30 in on something like that, and I'm not, and then I keep my one stick with me, you know what I mean? Like, I've got I love my one stick, and like, then, do you rappel, or how do you come down?
I rappel, and I wanted to rappel basically from when I started with one stick. Honestly, it just looked like a whole lot of fun. And then once I got up there and realized that it just makes a ton of sense to rappel. It's way easier to get out of the tree. I mean, I can get out of the tree and be packed up in 20 minutes, and that's from taking my time and making sure I'm being really safe.
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm switching over to rappelling probably this year. And my buddy that actually introduced me to saddle hunting, and he rappels and everything, and I've practiced, I've messed with his, but it's like I've done it because this past year, I bought it. I didn't hunt that season. I hunted like twice out of it the year before last. Then last year, I think I made like 5 or 6 hunts. And, I didn't get to hunt as much as I'd like to have. And I've spent more time hunting with my boys than I've been able to, and so I just hadn't used it. And so I've been when I have done it, so say 10 sits, but I've practiced and everything, but 10 sits in it, and one stick up, then like one stick down, and you're like, rappelling's a lot easier. This is a pain in the butt coming back down, and that's what I've heard a lot of great things about Tether. Then Out on a Limb is actually an Oklahoma company out of Enid, and they're about, from where I'm sitting here right now, probably about 3 hours from me. The company I work for actually has a job in Enid right now. And so I've been trying to get over to that job so I can make an excuse to go to like their shop. And then like I've with that, then that how long have you been saddle hunting? You said that maybe, I think you said it, I missed it.
5 years.
5, yeah. And
I'm going into my 6th season.
yeah, and like I said earlier, I hate to use that cliche of game changer, but it's just totally different when, like, like carrying, you can carry, even if you, like you said, you can carry it all in on your packs and everything, but it's like, you carry a backpack in with a few extra things and a climber, you're looking at 35 pounds on the light side. Just, my climber I used was a net seat, original old man, weighed like 18 pounds. That's on the lighter side of climbers. Then you figure a book sack with extra clothes in it, a couple bottles of water, anything, you're looking at another, 15 pounds or better? You make a 2-mile walk, 1.5 mile walk, you've done a workout.
Yep.
And that was one thing I looked at, because a lot of the public land I hunt, at the time I was hiking in 1.5 miles, 2 miles. I'm like, I got to switch. And once I switched, I'm like, oh, this is great. And I haven't hunted near as much as I would like to, but it's definitely worth it. What, like you said, you prefer stuff that you have a relationship with people and everything. So what, do you have a preference on your bow that you shoot? What is it? How do you have it set up?
So, when it comes to bows, I'm a little different. I either really like to support people that I have a good relationship with, or companies where I build relationships. But the biggest thing for me in a bow is the grip has to be comfortable. The number one thing I do every time I pick up a new bow to shoot and potentially buy it is check the grip. If the grip is not something that fits in my hand and is repeatable, the bow gets put down and I won't buy it. And that goes for no matter how much I like anything else. So this year I'm shooting a Gearhead P30. Skip that owns Gearhead is an unbelievable human being. Genuinely one of the nicest guys in the industry. I can't thank his praises enough. And as far as the bow goes, the grip just fits my hand so well. They're comfortable. It's only a 30-inch axle, so for saddle hunting and up in a tree, it's great because there's a ton of maneuverability, and a ground blind or sitting on the ground, I've still got plenty of clearance. And it's cool and different, and that's another thing for me too. I like things that are kind of different from the norm. With that said, I have owned a bow from every major manufacturer out there. I typically buy a brand new bow every year. About 4 years ago, I went through 7 different bows in a year to try to find one that I really liked. So I am not a brand loyal guy when it comes to that. I'm not a brand specific guy, and I like to tinker. Plus, for me, working on stuff, having all the different bows really gives me perspective on how they compare to each other, how to work on them if a customer brings me something that I don't have a ton of experience with. As far as setup, I, for years and years and years, found the EZV bow site and loved it. I really, still to this day, believe it is the best bow hunting site on the market. It is very specifically a bow hunting site, however. I switched to a B3 Exact Hunter 2 years ago, mostly because I was looking at carrying B3 as a brand, and I like to vet products before I carry it. It's a 3-pin slider sight that is super lightweight. I think it weighs like 9 ounces or 8 ounces overall, and I really, really like that sight, so that's what I shot last year. That's probably what I'll shoot again this year. Who knows, I might buy a different bow and throw the EZB on it and set it up, because it's hard for me to get away from that sight when I've had such success with it. For the rest, I like ripcord. I shot QAD for a long time, and then I had an MXT. The internals basically explode out of an MXT on me. That was enough to fire me on it, so I shoot ripcord. Last year I shot their drive cage, limb-driven model. This year I'll probably shoot the ratchet, limb-driven model. Stabilizers, I use Conquest stabilizers. For me, a stabilizer is basically just a bar with weight to balance the bow, so I'm not super brand specific there. I've got a Conquest quiver that I've really, really enjoyed. I like Conquest for quivers. I like Tight Spot for quivers. Those are the two that I've had the best success with. Not to say there's not anything else. It's just kind of what I like. And then for a release, I shoot either a hot shot. The hot shot hookup 3-finger is one of my favorite leases I've ever put my hands on. And then I've got a Carter, and I forget, let me see here if I can find it real quick. I'll tell you what model Carter that is. Because it is also a super great release that I've been enjoying a lot. Carter, that's a Carter Wise choice, and that may not be Carter. I'll have to double check on that. That is something that actually, I found a archery box at a garage sale that had a bunch of equipment in it. So I bought it for like $40. Yeah. Broadheads and random stuff in it. That release happened to be in there.
Awesome. Broadheads, what do you like? Fixed, mechanical? What do you?
So I am a kind of I'll say maybe an anomaly when it comes to this, because I test broadheads, and that's a big part of what I do for my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. I typically take 6 different broadheads in the woods with me, and I get a lot of flack for that. But I also know that if your bow is properly tuned, as long as you're putting a quality broadhead on the edge of the arrow, it's going to hit where you're aiming. So I can take 6 different broadheads and put them on 6 arrows and hit within a 3-inch circle at 60 yards. And if I can't do that with a broadhead, it doesn't go in the woods with me.
Makes sense.
So I take a bunch of stuff in the woods. I tend to lean towards fixed blades just because I like the idea of not being able to fail. I definitely lean towards single bevel when I can. With that said, last year I shot nothing but mechanical broadheads because I've never done that before, and I wanted to see what it was like, and I had success with them. Ultimately, it all boils down to the shot placement you put. I will say, this year, I will test a bunch of broadheads, but I'm only taking one broadhead in the woods, and it's a prototype broadhead that I have designed and am working on bringing to the market. So
Awesome. Let's see. Then let's see what you talking about the gearhead bow and different bows. You got what poundage do you like to shoot at?
So my gearhead is going to be set at 75 pounds. I'm a 70-pound guy. I can shoot and so comfortably in all weather conditions and situations, so that's what I stick with. But I've shot as low as 50 pounds. I've shot as high as 85 pounds. It's just, I don't recommend this. But there are some bows that you can twist the cables and strings and stuff like that up on and get them past up their 8-pound threshold and things of that nature. So, it depends on the bow, but I just kind of shoot what's comfortable. This year it happens to be 75 pounds on my gearhead.
Okay. Let's see. I think that's. I'm looking over my card here and kind of stuff I jotted down so that way I can kind of keep on tracking because I'll get to rambling and we'll be nowhere near where we need to be.
I'm the same way.
So that's what I want to do too is if you want to do a shout out to your social media stuff where I can put it on here where people know where to reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my social medias are, I've got a YouTube, I've got an Instagram, I've got TikTok, I've got Facebook, and then I have a website. All of those are Chest Thumper Outdoors. It's, chest is like the part of your body. Thumper like the rabbit from Bambi, and then outdoors. And then the website's chestthumperoutdoors.com. If you have any questions about anything archery, bow hunting related, don't ever hesitate to reach out. I love nothing more than having conversations with people that are learning or that love the same thing I do. If you just want to send me a picture of an awesome deer you killed last year or something you're proud of, I will celebrate with you. I am totally and entirely eaten up by bow hunting and the bow hunting community and the people in it. So anytime I get to share those moments, I'm very happy to do so. If you have any product questions or things that you would like to see reviewed that you haven't seen anywhere else or even you've seen somewhere else and you just want another opinion, I love suggestions on that stuff as well because I can't keep up with all the new products on the market. I try really hard, but it's just not possible. So again, Chest Thumper Outdoors anywhere on social medias. I do have a Twitter account also that I never ever use, so please don't reach out there. But Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, I check those every day just to make sure I'm always trying to answer everything I can and talk with people.
All right. That's all right with that. Start winding down on it. Give me a second and I'll get us off air here. So.